So my ancestors, they practiced and they believed in the Greek gods and goddesses. Now, when we think about the Greek gods and goddesses, we think about the myth. We think about Zeus and Hera, the divine couple. Now, that's mythology. The interesting thing is that mythology draws from theology, but theology doesn't draw from mythology. The religion has been suppressed, but the people practicing it have not. The easiest way to understand it, we have this source energy, okay? The ancient Greeks called it the true being. From that source energy, we have the gods and goddesses, and there are as many gods and goddesses as there are universal functions, because the gods and goddesses, they are universal law. So the ancient Greeks personified everything, so they could have a more personal relationship with it. So when we think about the Greek gods and goddesses, the 12 Olympians, for example, we're talking about 12 universal laws and how we can work with the laws of the universe to live a good life.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Ask Julie Ryan Show. It's where we blend spirituality and practicality to help you live a life of purpose and joy. We have George Lizos on the show with us today. George is a spiritual teacher, psychic healer, and a priest of the Hellenic Ethnic Religion. I'm curious to learn how ancient Greek mysticism and manifestation can help us tap into the divine and create more amazing lives today. Please remember to subscribe, leave a comment, and share this episode with your family and friends. Now, let's go chat with George. George, welcome to the show. I'm so delighted you could join us today.
Hi, Julie. Thank you so much for having me.
You are most welcome. You teach about protecting our light.
Yes.
What are some hidden ways we unknowingly give it away?
Ooh, very interesting question. So we have an energy body outside of this physical body, as you know. So when we go through life, we're like sponges and we attract different kind of energetic attachments, I call them, from different people, from different spaces, including online spaces. So some of those hidden ways, aside from like what you would expect, interacting with people who may have like negative thoughts or vibrations or negative spaces, online, when we scroll through our phones, when we go through the different social media sites, I like to think of them as these like different kind of cities or different types of countries. Like we have Instagramville and Facebook land, for example. And all these online spaces, they have private spaces and they have public spaces and semi-private spaces. For example, when you go into your Instagram feed, that is a private space. Your DM's private space. The Explore tab on Instagram is a public space. So different types of energies linger in different spaces. So we have to be aware of what kind of energetic attachments we're exposing ourselves to and how that is affecting us through a term called emotional contagion, which is this ability of social media and something happening right across the world affecting you emotionally on the other side of the world.
Yeah, and don't you think that that's how all media operates? If it bleeds, it leads. If it's something that's drama and trauma, that's going to be their first story. And that's what people gravitate to. Is it because
Yeah.
we're trained to do that? Have we been conditioned to do that, or is that just human nature?
I think drama is addictive. The adrenaline it produces, from a physical, like a biological standpoint, it releases like stuff like hormones in your body, and that keeps you hooked on the screen and wanting to know more. So it can get quite addictive. So we are addicted to dramatic events, and that's why reality TV, for example, is very popular because of that. And that's why I consciously, and this is what I teach to my clients as well, is like, detox yourself from negative news. Of course, be informed and be aware, but don't indulge, because that's how you become exposed to all kinds of things that lower your vibrational frequency and therefore make you a match to people, spaces, spirits of similar low vibrational frequencies. And that's the easiest way to become energetically attacked.
Mm-hmm. The thing about if it bleeds, it leads. I always say, well, it's all about the dollar. Because when somebody's afraid and they get an emotional attachment to something, they're going to watch it more. The more they watch it, the more they can charge for the ads. And it's all about the revenue at the end of the day. But we're not necessarily cognizant of that. We just think, oh my God, this happened. And we think, it may happen to us. in the next 24 hours when it's on the other side of the world.
Exactly. And that's why it was really important to me when I wrote my book, Protect Your Light. I included a whole section all about digital, like well-being and digital cleansing and energy protection, because we live in an increasingly interconnected world. Look at us right now, communicating from like opposite sides of the world. So it's really important that as the world has become increasingly complex with the media, with news, with social media, with the virtual reality as well, that we also have more complex energetic practices to protect ourselves. I remember when I decided to like teach about energy protection, it came out of this need that I had as well. Like growing up in a spiritual community, you hear all about, oh, just shield yourself with a white bubble. And I'm like, oh, if I read or hear about the white bubble one more time, I mean, I get it, it's a powerful shield, but it's not a one size fits all. We need to have a more complex, but not necessarily complicated way to managing our energy.
So, how do we stop observing other people's emotions and energy?
So, energy work works with intention. So, what I wanted to do in my book and in my teachings in general is instead of just teaching about those practical physical tools that we all love, like using, for example, gongs and bells to clear energy, or sage and Palo Santo, which we all love, the bells and whistles. Let's work with our intention. Let's work with our physical body, because I believe that our physical body is our greatest tool, our greatest divination tool, our greatest energy protection tool, our greatest everything tool. So the easiest thing we can do is we can work with our intention and with visualization exercises to protect ourselves. The way that I teach it is by shielding ourselves. And I teach a 7-step process in the book. However, the main 3 steps of this process is identify, clear, shield, meaning turning on our 360-degree vision, our inner vision, our psychic vision, to identify what's stuck within our energy field. Second step, clearing it. And then third step, shielding. And shielding, we're using different types of frequencies that work with source, with the universe, but also with our own intention. If we intend that I'm surrounded by in a bubble of rainbow light right now, and that raises my vibration, that rainbow ray works because it exists in the universe, but our intention activates it and makes it truly effective. So I teach people how to layer different shields so that they can feel protected.
Okay. What are energetic cords?
Ooh, energetic cords are relationships that we have to people, to places, to pets, to past lives, to events in our life, to different spaces all around the world. Whatever we have a relationship with, we have an energy cord connecting us to that being or to that event, whatever it is. So there are different cords extending from different parts of our energy body, our different chakras. If the relationship is positive, there is beautiful, good vibes flowing back and forth from these relationship cords. If the relationship has gone a little bit negative, there may be negative energy going back and forth. So it's really important to cut negative cords, amplify positive ones, but also if we want to go a little bit deeper, we can do some psychic surgery on these cords to cut filaments and make changes within those cords to improve or amend and change and transition different relationships.
Can you give us an example of perhaps one that you've experienced or a client with whom you've worked where that psychic surgery on the cords has happened?
Yes. For a while, I do this back and forth. I do like psychic lines, which is great for like keeping your intuition really like fine-tuned. And I get a lot of calls from people who they want to learn about their relationships, and they have relationship issues, and they're like in this desperate, urgent need, like, tell me about my relationship. Does he love me? Like, is he gonna come back? Is she gonna come back? What's gonna happen? And usually what I do, I identify those energy cords they have with their significant other. And when you zoom into the cord, you can see little cords, energetic filaments. And sometimes the cord may be positive in general, but there may be an energetic filament of jealousy, or an energetic filament of feeling hurt or being triggered from something that happened in the past. So what I do, and I do this a lot, so I'm not going to give a specific example, but it's something that's so common, is you tune into that energetic cord, you identify, let's say, for example, an energetic filament of jealousy and you cut that filament. Or you work with a violet flame, which is a transmuting frequency of light, to go into this cord and transmute the energy of those negative filaments, strengthening the positive ones.
So you're envisioning all of this. You're envisioning cutting the cord of jealousy and envisioning
Yes.
putting the
Yes.
violet light in there.
Yes, it's very similar to the kind of work that you do with healing, but instead of identifying like ailments in the body, I identify blocks and relationship dynamics, and then you do the healing through that way.
Okay. All right. I'm fascinated with the fact that you're a priest of the Hellenic Ethnic Religion.
Yes.
What's the tradition involve, and how did you first feel led to it?
Yeah. So I am Greek. I'm Greek Cypriot. So my ancestors were Hellenic polytheists. They practiced and they believed in the Greek gods and goddesses. Now, when we think about the Greek gods and goddesses, we think about the myths. We think about Zeus and Hera, the divine couple, and Aphrodite being jealous and like sleeping with like 1,000 men. Now, that's mythology. The interesting thing is that mythology draws from theology, but theology doesn't draw from mythology. There is a religion and a spirituality to the Greek gods and goddesses that sadly has been suppressed by Christianity over many years. Now, the religion has been suppressed, but the people practicing it have not. We have been practicing underground for years, and therefore there has been a continuity of the religion throughout time. In 2017, actually 2016, that's when I traveled to Athens and I trained as a priest to the Hellenic Ethnic Religion, the religion of the ancient Greeks. When the Greek government finally, after years and years and years, recognized the religion as an official religion, as a legal religion. So the Hellenic polytheists came up from underground and they ran the first ever priesthood training. And I attended it in Athens and I became a priest of the religion. And ever since, I have been practicing at the modern temple of Zeus that we have here in Cyprus. So it is a religion of the ancient Greeks. Now, I'm going to give you the basics. The basics are, and many people probably grew up with the Abrahamic religions, for example, Christianity, Islam, etc. So the easiest way to understand it, we have this source energy, okay? The ancient Greeks called it the true being, okay? From that source energy, we have the gods and goddesses, and there are as many gods and goddesses as there are universal functions, because the gods and goddesses, they are universal laws. For example, Aphrodite, she's the law of form. She gives form to things. So there are universal functions. What makes the universe work? Gravity is a law, therefore a god. Sunset, sunrise, functions of the universe, they are representations known as deities, gods and goddesses. So the ancient Greeks personified everything so they could have a more personal relationship with it. So the ancient Greek religion essentially is honoring and working with natural universal laws, but you give them name and a persona and characteristics so that you can have a relationship with that. So when we think about the Greek gods and goddesses, the 12 Olympians, for example, we're talking about 12 universal laws and how we can work with the laws of the universe to live a good life.
And it sounds to me like the Hellenic ethnic religion is more along the lines of the Druids and the Celts and the ancient mysticism type religions, more so than we think of the Greek Orthodox religion. That was, you say Greek religion, and I think that's what most people are gonna picture.
You're absolutely correct, because in Greece and Cyprus, the main religion is Greek Orthodoxy. And I grew up as a Greek Orthodox as well until I was 15 years old. I was like deep into the religion, going to the church, chanting, and all of it. And then eventually I started my spiritual journey of transitioning and exploring. But yes, it is very similar to the other pagan religions around the world because they're all founded on the same premise. What the ancients did is they studied nature, they observed nature, and they made inferences based on what they observed, and they used that to develop their philosophy about life, about the world, and about religion. So when you think about the Celtic religion, the Hinduism religion, when you think about the Native American religion, the Aboriginals in Australia, they're all ethnic religions. They're all earth-based, natural religions. There are two main types of religions. We have natural religions that were created and were developed as a result of the relationship between people and the earth. And then we have the man-made, human-made religions that are based on the dogma of a single person. Jesus or someone else, a prophet, for example, declaring something. So this is the main difference. So you're right to think that the Hellenic ethnic religion is very similar to all the other pagan religions around the world.
How'd you find out about it?
It's there, but the way that I found out about it, because it's available, like if you go to the ancient texts, they talk about the religion. But it's not talked about because we read about the mythology, we learn about the mythology in school. And so we are fed very specific information. The way that I came into it is I had my Saturn return when I was 27, 28 years old. And I was working a full-time job in London. I was working for Hay House, actually. You may be familiar with the publishing house.
Sure. Yeah.
So I was working for the London offices. Still a corporate job, spiritual, but corporate. And I burnt out because I was trying to build my spiritual business part-time while also like working a full-time job. Up to a point that I woke up one morning and my body would not function. I like burned myself out completely. So I headed for Glastonbury, which is a very magical town in the UK. And I did a past life regression. Long story short, I found out that I had to learn how to embrace the divine feminine energy. So I rushed out of the past life regression, tears running down my cheeks. And right across the street, I see the goddess temple of Glastonbury. I'm like, oh, a sign. So I go in and I go to one of the
I
priestesses.
didn't know there was a goddess temple in
Yes.
Glastonbury. And that's in Scotland, right?
Glastonbury
Yeah.
is actually in England. It's in the
Is
west
it
of
in
England.
Okay.
And I was there last week. So
Oh,
it's really
gosh.
fresh in my mind as well right now. So
Okay.
I go to the goddess temple. I'm like, I need to connect to the goddess. I need to connect to the divine feminine. So the priestess explained to me all about the Celtic goddesses that they honored. And then I'm like, hold on a second. I mean, I'm not a Celt. Let's see if I can find the equivalent within the Greek religion, within my ancestry. And I go to my Airbnb, I search online, and synchronistically, that was the year 2016 that the Greek government legalized the religion, and the Hellenic polytheists were running their first priesthood training. So I attended, and the rest is history. So it was the universe bringing me there. It was my sudden return. It was meant to happen.
I love it. All right. How do the ancient Greek spiritual practices inform modern healing in this day and age?
Oh, I love this question because I feel that New Age is really, 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 really old age. And we can see that. We can see that.
Old age. I love that.
Yes, it is old age because I remember when I was doing my temple hopping trip, I did a temple hopping trip in Greece to write my book, Secrets of Greek Mysticism. And I went to Epidaurus, okay? And I went to the temple of Asclepius. Now, Asclepius is a Greek god of healing, and his symbol, the Asclepian rod, is a modern symbol of medicine. It's the stick, the rod with the snake wrapped all around it. That is the ancient symbol of Asclepius, symbolizing healing.
Right.
Now, the Asclepion was the first ever hospital in the ancient times. And there were many Asclepia around the ancient world, the biggest one being at Epidaurus in Greece, mainland Greece. So I went there and I was fascinated by their healing chambers and the healing equipment and process that they had there. There was a cleansing space where people would come and they would spend time cleansing themselves, after which they would go through different types of purification rituals and making dedications and offerings to the god. And then they would go to the healing chamber underground and they would sleep there with snakes slithering all around them throughout the night. And then they would have dreams of the god and of Asclepius and his daughters, the other goddesses of healing, who would come and heal them or give them guidance in their dreams. And then in the morning, the priests would help them interpret those dreams and give them prescriptions, healing prescriptions. And there were tablets and tablets and tablets of the miracles performed by Asclepius and all the healings that he performed. And then I'm thinking about what we do, what you and I do as healers as well. And it's a very similar thing. We guide people to cleanse things, to purify, to use your dreams as a way of like channeling. We channel like energy from the universe and from the earth to facilitate healing. So I feel the ancient Greeks and many ancient traditions, like they were really developed when it comes to healing. And they had advanced healing technologies that they could use and they used successfully. And what we're doing right now, we're simply rediscovering what the ancients had already mastered.
I agree. And it brings to mind too, George, how in the pyramids, in the bottom of the pyramids, there are chambers, and in most instances, there's water flowing through them in the
Yes.
form of streams, and lots of reports, lots of research of people with whatever ailment going down, spending an hour or two in those chambers where the water is, and then coming up and they don't have cancer anymore. They don't have diabetes anymore. They don't have whatever their ailment is. And it makes me think, okay, first of all, water we know is a great channeler of energy, and water, to your point, is cleansing. And so water's healing, the baths at Lourdes and Fatima and all those kind of places too. But also the shape of the pyramids to me leads me to believe that there's some kind of energy generators.
I agree. And that's why I teach one of the most powerful shields of a transmuting shield that I teach. And the one that I use every single day is the Golden Pyramid of Light shield.
Okay.
Because when you think about the pyramid, spiritually, symbolically, what it has a very stable basis with 4 sides. So we instantly have the number 4. That is a very stable number. When you look into like numerology, it's all about stability and structure and basis and safety. So we have a stable structure symbolizing the earth. And then it all goes all the way up to a single point that connects with the sky. So we have the connection to the heaven and the connection to the earth, the celestial frequencies and plane of existence, and the earthly frequencies, which is what we do for healing. We connect with the earth, we connect above, and we find healing. So they are channels and portals of healing energy. That's what I feel pyramids are.
Mm-hmm. I agree. And I think it's fascinating that they're all over the world. They're not just
Yes.
in Egypt. They got them everywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Is manifestation more about aligning with divine timing or mastering ancient energetic secrets we've forgotten?
In my latest book, Ancient Manifestation Secrets, I wanted to bust some myths about manifestation. One of the myths being that the law of attraction is the most powerful law in the universe. I'm like, yes, it is powerful, but there are other laws in the universe and we cannot surpass them. We need to take them into consideration as well. So when it comes to manifestation, I'm all about aligning ourselves with the frequency of our soul, because our soul already knows what kind of desires are right for us. Because we can manifest from 2 spaces. We can manifest from ego, and therefore we're disconnected from our soul. I'm like, oh, I want this car, or I want to go on this cruise, or I want to manifest this or that, which is great. You can. However, what if we first took the time to align ourselves with the frequency of our soul that already knows what our soul contracts are, what our relationship contracts are, what our soul purpose is over several lifetimes, what our specific life purpose is in this lifetime, what our energetic makeup is, where our soul comes from, what's our soul realm, where do we come from in the universe. Our soul already knows that. So when we take the time to align our energy to the frequency of our soul informs us of what desires are right for us and what desires we'd rather like let go of or just put aside. So to answer your question, both of what you said are correct, because to me, the ancients knew this. The ancients and their ancient secrets, they understood that manifestation is about alignment. Manifestation is about coming home, the home that is your soul, and manifesting from that place not from an ego perspective.
How do our life's goals get hijacked? How is it that our spirits know, but a lot of the time our brain doesn't know? Is it through conditioning of how we're raised in our families and our communities and all of that? How does
Yes.
that happen?
It's a combination of that. So going back to the energetic attachments that I shared in the beginning of the episode, if you think of your energetic body as your physical body, its etheric presence, the chakras, and the 7 layers of the aura or more. So if our energy field is clean, that means we're aligned with what our soul feels and knows. But if we go through life and we attract different stuff from other people, thoughts, conditioning, beliefs, energies, and our energetic field gets cluttered of that stuff, then we end up feeling other people's emotions, thinking other people's thoughts, behaving in ways that are not in alignment with who we really are, because we're not really living our lives. We're living other people's lives because our aura is hijacked by all that stuff. And that's why when we take the time to cleanse, to reconnect, then that's how we truly follow our purpose. And I feel the majority of the people in the world are not truly living their lives. They're living other people's lives. They're allowing their energy to be affected so much by other people, by conditioning, by these bubbles that we live in, that we don't realize what's true for us. For example, my personal example, growing up in a teeny tiny island in the Mediterranean, okay, the conditioning that has been around in my entire life is you can only be so successful. You can have a career in Cyprus. If I hadn't taken the time to deprogram myself of all of that, I would still be an accountant. I would be an accountant in Cyprus. Because nobody allowed me to believe that I could be an international speaker and I could write books and speak all around the world.
Mhm.
Nobody taught me that. Nobody made that available for me because my aura was conditioned and cluttered by all the limiting beliefs that other people had.
Right. Right. Well, and I think that we oftentimes do what our parents expect us to do
Exactly.
because we're worried that we're going to be thrown out of the tribe
Yeah,
and ostracized. And in some instances, people are
we do.
when they don't do what their family wants them to do. What role does intuition play in navigating trauma? I know you do a lot of work with trauma. And how can we tell it apart from fear and conditioning, what we were just talking about?
Hmm. I love the question. So, trauma. When I talk about trauma, I always go back to triggers because triggers are doorways to our traumas. So the way intuition comes into this is that whenever we get triggered by something, and a trigger, an emotional trigger, is a strong negative emotional response to something that happens outside of us. Okay, so someone says something and we feel it in our gut, like we feel negatively towards that. We get triggered. And all of a sudden, we're experiencing something that happened in the past. So that's how we can use our intuition to navigate that. Okay, let's be inquisitive about this trigger right now. Why did what that person said trigger me? What could be behind that? And that's how we use our intuition and therefore our body. Our body keeps the score. There's a great book called The Body Keeps the Score. Our body can tell us, help us navigate and identify what's there. Ooh, I am feeling this in my heart chakra, or I'm feeling this in my gut. I'm feeling this in my shoulder. Let's do some more excavation there. Okay, I'm feeling this in my shoulder. What's happening there? What's behind that? How old is the version of me that's feeling that in my shoulder? Ooh, it's 5 years old. What happened at 5 years old? First thought that comes up, your intuition's like, oh, so and so happened. This person like bullied you at school. How could that be connected to what happened right now? Oh, that person said something that made me feel a little bit berated. Could that be related to what happened to me at 5 years old? And I'm feeling it here. It lives here. The energetic attachment is here. Yes. Then how can I use some tools to start resolving that trauma? Usually, especially in the beginning, as soon as we identify the source of that trauma, we start the process of healing it. But then you have to do some more work as well. And the way that I do it is I work with eye movement therapy. It's called integral eye movement therapy. It's very similar to EMDR, whereas you
Mhm.
move your eyes while thinking about a traumatic memory, and that helps you release the negative attachment and emotion you have to it.
I agree, and I completely agree with you, and I teach this same thing, George, that it's that first thing that comes in your head, sometimes before your thought is even finished being thought, and that's how you know that's from spirit, and that's your guidance coming in from spirit. I agree completely on that. How does somebody know when they're ready to step into their spiritual path, and can they do it even if they're terrified to take that first step?
Yeah. I like to think that when we're ready for the next step or the beginning of our spiritual path, the universe, our spirit guide, source, whatever you want to call it, will start sending you signs. Now, you cannot miss the signs. And if you do, they will get stronger and stronger and stronger, bigger and bigger and bigger until you don't have a choice but follow them. Personal story. I remember I was a student in Bristol in the UK, and I was smoking. So I was a smoker, and I would drink like most students do. Like I was 21, 22. I would go out every weekend and get drunk. And I kept hearing my guides say I was still spiritual, but I was like abusing alcohol and also cigarettes. I could hear my guides say, "You need to quit smoking, quit drinking." And I'm like, "Okay, great, I'll do it." And then I would go again and I would relapse every single week. I'm like, I'll start Monday. And then I would never do so. Until one day, my cousin come over, we're going out at night, and we're like pre-drinking at home, having wine. And I drank a whole bottle of wine as a pre-drink. And then she was straightening her hair with a hair straightening iron. And then at some point she like laid it down on the floor and we were dancing, and I accidentally stepped into the scorching hot hair straightening iron, bur-
Youch.
burning my foot. I was too drunk to pay too much attention to it, so I went clubbing. Long story short, the following day, I had a huge blister under my foot. I ended up getting infected, and I was limping for 2 months. That was the last time I got drunk. The message from the universe was clear: no smoking, no drinking.
Wow. They
The
need to slap
universe,
you upside the head to get your attention.
yeah, the universe will get
Yeah.
your attention.
Oh my gosh. Couple more questions as we're winding down here, George. Is there a practice or mantra that anybody can use right now to connect with their spiritual team?
Yes, yes, yes. Okay, my favorite mantra. I do this whenever I need a quick way to reconnect. And the way this came through for me is while I was finishing up my book, Secrets of Greek Mysticism, I was writing about like guiding people to do like 3 rituals every single month to the gods. And there I was rehearsing for Mamma Mia musical and trying to finish my exams at drama school and writing that book. I was like doing 1,000 things, and I hadn't done a single ritual in 3 months. And I was feeling like such an imposter. Like, how can I be writing this and not living it in the moment? And then I heard something that my teacher said in the training that we did in 2016. And he said, we're already swimming in the ocean of the gods. You don't need to like search to find the gods. They are all around us. So just wake up to their presence. And in that moment, I placed one hand on my heart and I told myself, wake up. And the intention was, wake up to your inner divinity. Wake up to the truth. And that's a simple practice we can all do right now. Just tell ourselves, wake up, and see what wakes up within us.
That's as easy as it gets. What did you find when you woke up?
Ah, relief. Relief that I don't need to do any ritual. I may want to do the ritual to deepen my connection, but you find this relief because you realize it's all good. All is well. You're connected. Nothing ever really goes wrong.
Right, right. And guilt is just useless.
Yeah. What's the
That
point?
exactly. I
It's a vibe
agree.
killer.
Yeah. Last question. Why do we incarnate?
We incarnate to collectively to expand consciousness, create more of what is, keep on refining our experience on earth, and really celebrate our divinity, because immaterial source knows it's perfect. Embodied, incarnated source can experience that perfection.
There you go. Great answer. All right. Well, you are fascinating. I want to have you back when we have more time because I want to explore the Greek mysticism some more. Because we just all think of all the Greek mythology and the gods and stuff, and it's so much deeper. And you just gave us a big old tease about how it is different from the mythology. I loved what did you say that theology and about the theology and mythology?
Yes, like mythology draws from theology, and therefore the myths, they hold allegorical meanings and stories and messages. But the myths about the gods, they're not the gods. The gods are not their myths. The gods are something else.
Yeah. And that's what you tap into. And
Exactly.
that's what you are able to access and utilize their ancient practices and methodologies to help people heal in this day and age. So that's fascinating to me. And I want to explore that deeper with you.
Sure,
Thank you
yes.
for
I would
taking
love
the
to.
time to meet with us because I know it's way past your bedtime when we're talking with the time difference. Because Georgia's in Cyprus and I'm in the Southeast US. So thank you for sharing your wisdom with us and staying up late. You go get some good rest. And in the meantime, how can people learn more about you and your work?
So you can find everything about me on my website, georgelizos.com, and on Instagram, where I live, at georgelizos as well.
All right. And we'll have all of that in the show notes too. Okay, everybody, sending you lots of love from Sweet Home, Alabama, mwah, and from Cyprus too, where George is. See you next time. To enhance your spiritual journey, click on one of the videos below and remember to subscribe, leave a comment, and share this episode with your family and friends.